Hello guys, this is the Real Guardian. I hope you've had a wonderful day. I thought I'd tell you I've gotten a new mic, and hopefully this one will be a little bit better than the old one, but it won't be here till sometime next week probably. Now, this is What If Belle Had the Blacklight Virus. I hope you guys will enjoy it, but before we get started, viewer discretion is advised. There's dark themes, dark suggested themes, gore, darkness all around with this particular series, and if this is not your cup of tea, then skip this video and the following video, Bell Yandere, because I will have to do this for your discretion. It is to cover my own butt against YouTube, because YouTube can be picky. I might even have to put 17 plus on here just to be safe. That being said, let's finally get started with this what if. And the first thing is that the Blacklight Virus will have limitations. It's just that I'm not really going to go into them in the first part. It'll be more discovered towards the end of the first act. Now, allow me to officially begin. Bell had been beaten for the 10th time today, as the villagers saw him as their plague that could bring death, disease, and pestilence, all because of his white hair with crimson lines. He was walking back to his small tent that he called home. That was far from the village, so he could get his freedom from them. As he entered it, he just collapsed on the straw mat while he drifted away to slumber. Now, while Bell was walking back, the village was having a discussion regarding Bell. They were having a screaming match about him. He should be burned alive, one screamed. Another screamed beaten to death. With one villager just saying without even screaming, why not sacrifice him? To that. As the rest of the villagers smiled, saying, that'd be perfect. Bell was now getting up, it being night, walking outside to pick up sticks so he could make a fire, so he wouldn't get too cold in the chilly night. But all of a sudden, he was jumped by the villagers as they tied him up, gagged him, and threw him into a bag. They made their way through the forest near the village, getting to a massive cave with only a single hole on the top of it. Pulling the bag off of him, saying, this is where you die, plague. May the deities have mercy on your soul, for we have none. With the group of villagers shoving Bell into the hole, as he crashes down to the ground hard, as everything on his right side was broken, and he could no longer see out of his right eye. But what was left of him on his left side still yearned for survival. So he started to crawl towards the stone tablet in the center of the cave he saw while falling. But with each tiny little inch gained, he cut himself open, bleeding more and more blood out. Finally getting to the stone tablet, reaching out with his only working arm, touching it. The blood that has been draining from his body oozed towards the tablet. As it lingered and went deep within the tablet, it started to glow a blood red, with these words on it. If thee desires power, then speak these words. O bringer of plagues, death, disease, and pestilence, the great goddess Argol, I think is how you pronounce it, grant me your blessing. And with the last of his strength, Bel spoke these words. Awakening in a black void with a beautiful goddess, she had a very large bust. She was wearing a black and red dress that only covered the essential bits. As the rest of the dress was see-through. Her hair was pitch black, as it flowed like an endless sea, with red-looking stars dotting it. She had pitch black irises, with red covering the rest of her eyes. As she spoke. So, you think you could gain a blessing from me, little one? As Bell just nodded his head no, which actually shocked the goddess. She asked then why summon me at all. Bell just saying if I must die for being what my village calls a plague that could bring death, disease, and pestilence like you, I would want to at least get to meet a beautiful goddess before I die. Giving a weak smile, which caused Nargol to blush heavily. She never met anyone that did not come here for power or the lust of gaining for strength anymore. So, this boy, why is he here? She thought, mulling over everything that has just happened before her. Then finally asking, so what are you doing here then, boy? As Belle explains what happened to him, as it angers her beyond all reason that they do this to such a sweet boy, she could tell just by looking into his soul. It was like a black diamond with a red core, but it shined so brightly that it could dwarf any star. She decides then and there to give him the greatest power she could give. She speaks once more. See, I cannot give you a blessing on your back, like other deities, since I am not allowed to leave this plane without a good reason to. That being said, I personally shall grant you the Blacklight, for this is a power like no other, for it consumes things. Its effect on people, for what I can tell you for now, is to gain their memories, experiences, and make them part of your biomass. You can even split them to make them loyal servants to you of their former selves. Second effect is for monsters. Monsters, you can create them after consuming them at least once. And if you have done it, a perfect example is if you consume a goblin, you can then make them from your biomass. And by consuming unique monsters, it creates unique powers and abilities. You will be given superhuman strength, speed, agility, endurance, and senses, with an elemental resistance to all magic, adding in a healing factor that will make you invincible, for you heal faster than anyone can hurt you generally. Finally, having the ability to adapt to anything with an unbreakable will, and everything that you consume that is a monster makes you stronger. But there are two issues by granting you this, young one. Spell asks, what is it? While coughing up some blood. With her response, you need the blessing of two deities combined to have a blessing on your back. Second, you must have a second name that ties to you. So instead of Belle Coronel, it must be something new. And it is for a very good reason. You will find out soon. Spell speaks, saying, my new name is Mercer Heller, and thank you for giving me a gift. As she responds, I wish we could talk more, but it's time for you to leave for right now. As she smiles at him. See, by granting you this, you can come and see me anytime you need to. I can't talk to you through your mind anytime I need to. And finally, as she bends down, whispering in his ear, plus, if you have too much of a great demand that only the flesh can solve, I can satisfy all your needs. As this makes Belle blush hard. His response to all that was, that's really good to hear, and once more, thank you for everything, Nirgal. With her smile saying, you are welcome, Belle. Now, Belle has awakened back in the cave to see his body is fully healed. And Nirgal speaking, saying, testing, 1, 2, 3, can you hear me, Belle? With his response being, yes, I can, Nargle. With her cheerfully saying, good. Now, there are some low-level monsters in this cave, but there's a massive wolf of the variant. You should consume everything you can, especially since it will grant you greater powers and strength. Belle's saying, okay, that sounds good. While walking further into the cave, Belle comes to see goblins with an orc. So he slowly creeps up behind them, waiting for the right moment to strike. And when they are not paying attention, he blitzed them with blinding speed and with a single kick caved the first goblin's head in, turning it to dust with a magic crystal dropping. Once this happens, Argo quickly speaks up, saying, if you kill without consuming it, this is what happens. The usual dust, also leaving a magical crystal behind or any drop. But if you do consume it, sadly nothing is left behind when you do so. But you gain strength and power in exchange. Belle asks, so how do I consume them then? With her response being simple. Think on something you want to eat, devour, consume. Then tendrils will come out and let you consume them for your power and the biomass you will create. Belle then thanked her as he grabbed the goblin in front of him, and black tendrils came out, consuming the monster. He feels the power and strength flowing through him, with Belle cracking a smile, thinking, once I'm done here, they are getting my wrath, consuming the remaining goblins as he devoured them like they were nothing. All but the orc, as it was shaking in fear because what it saw was a monster greater than it, with his black and red aura all around Belle currently that he couldn't see. It tried to harm him with its club by smashing it into Belle's face, trying to cave it in. But Belle, he just smiled, with his whole face recreating itself within an instant. The orc, out of sheer terror, dropped its club and collapsed to the ground. Belle slowly walked up to it and consumed him. Well, he felt a lot more power than he did with the goblin, saying out loud, I see. The stronger the monster, the greater the power I get. With a smile that was so kind, but the thoughts behind it was completely twisted, thinking to himself, with this I can get my revenge on those bastards. He starts to walk with a light skip in his step, happily consuming everything that got in his way, whether it be goblins, orcs, and wolves. And some slimes, which was ironic, thought Belle, given both of their natures at this point. But while this was happening, he also learned something personally. He could consume something, especially monsters, as long as he did it just before they turned to dust. Which means he doesn't have to automatically consume them while they're still alive. He can weaken them. Which was helpful for Belle, as he pointed out to himself. He kept going through the cave, finally reaching its end, seeing a massive pack of wolves are guarding the final room of the cave, smiling insanely while he dropped down, and the wolves seeing this, all of them charging forward at him, with Bell himself bolting forward, grabbing two wolves by the neck with blinding speed and consuming them, with the rest of them quickly jumping and piling on top of him. They claw, they bite, and rip him apart. But Bell just smiles, remembering what Nargal just said to him. He releases up excess buildup in his biomass, saying, Tendril Barrage Devastator. With all these black tendrils piercing all the remaining wolves, they were devoured by him, healing all his damage. He does look down to see his jacket and shirt being in complete tatters, and his pants ripped to hell, saying to himself, so that's what happens when I build up my excess critical mass. But it seems, as Nargol said, it's going to take a day for it to recharge, huh? With Nargol responding quickly to him, saying yes. But with this, if you're ever overrun like that again, you can just use that. But when you get more unique powers, there will be more variants of abilities like this. Bell's smiling, saying, okay. He walked into the final room to see a giant black wolf with swords sticking out of its back. He smiles, saying out loud, sorry, but I have to eat you. The wolf, hearing this, awoken from its deep slumber, howling with all its might, sending Bell back, with him screaming back at it. Is that all you got, beast? As it understood him, it gave him a response. It disappeared and reappeared behind him, slamming his claws into his back, sending him flying so far forward at an insane speed that he crashed into the wall and had to pull himself out, saying, now, that's more like it. He healed his own back, turning around and bolting forward, kicking the wolf back with just, if not even more force, as it hit a wall as well. Staggering out of it, the wolf shook its head and licked the blood off its lips. This caused Belle to smile even more derangedly, saying, "You're ready now, right?" With this mighty wolf nodding its head. In response, in a response, they had a battle to the death that went on for a few hours, until they were both panting, with the wolf bleeding out to the point where its black fur turned red. Belle laughing, saying, "Now this was a true challenge of my strength, but it seems time is up for you." He dashes forward, and the wolf, using the last of its strength, tries to slash at him with its claws, but Belle dodges it easily and plants his fist straight into the bloody mess of its fur as he's grabbed its crystal, saying, "You are worthy. May you rest now in me," consuming the great beast that was this wolf. But this time, when he finished this, his arms turned into claws from the game. Finally, his hair had turned black with streaks of red, and his eyes now were pitch black with shades of crimson. And Nargo speaking up, saying, "This is power you can get from certain monsters. That is what I meant by unique. And it seems this time you got claws. They are a strong weapon, and you've somehow developed two new Devastator abilities. One is Pack Leader. It lets you summon everything you have consumed from your biomass, controlling it and making a small army. They can also consume as well to help you build up your biomass and army. Finally, you got Ground Spike Graveyard Devastator. With this, massive spikes can erupt from the ground as you slam your claws down, piercing everything and even things very high up. But I would not use this yet, since you would have to wait for a full day, and since you've already used the other one, it seems like a waste for right now." She smiles, thinking to herself, and asking, "So how will you handle these people, Belle?" Belle giving her a response, first saying, "Thank you so much, goddess. So now let's get out of here." And for them, complete and utter annihilation as the demon within Belle's smile grew even brighter. He went back to the room with the tablet, bowing and even thanking Nargle once more. Now, going to where an opening normally would be, smashing the massive wall with his strength, opening his path out. Now he's going back to that village. This being much later on, while all this was happening, two women in cloaks were traveling near the village. One with purple hair saying, "Seriously, why do those idiots think it's weird for two goddesses of love to be virgins and not have a familia?" With the silver hair one responding, "It is because we should know that, to be honest, and if everything was not charmed by us so easily, we might have a reason to do it and have a familia." They then see flames erupting in the distance. The purple one saying, "Hey, Freya, was there not a village near here as we were traveling last time?" And she responded with, "Why, yes, Ishtar. I think we should go and check it out once more. To be honest, it seems fate has decided something, I would say." Now, we go back to Belle before they see the flame. He's standing on a small hill overlooking the village. They are throwing a massive party celebrating the death of Belle. He laughs out loud, saying, "Well, most are well and drunk already. So let's use that pack ability and end this happy charade. Shall we?" As he then summons all the monsters he's killed with his biomass, creating a small army. Then he saw the very wolf he had just fought, decided getting on top of it, and said, "Now the rest of you go kill, consume, and destroy that village. But make sure you leave some for me to play and toy with," as he smiled wickedly. They all nodded, and he sent them all but himself and the wolf as they overlooked this soon carnage. In the village, they were partying like animals, many talking about how the plague was gone, and now they could rest easy. They celebrated and had fun with games and drink. The children of the village playing near the end of the village with some games they had. But unbeknownst to them, the first wave of monsters had already come, and slaughtered them and consumed them all, as they screamed their final breaths. The villagers realized something was wrong, as a few of them came running to see a small army of monsters, what seemed to be puddles of blood, but they got sucked up. And a woman screamed, "That's my child!" with the children then forming out of the biomass from the monsters. Seeing this caused most of the villagers in the area to throw up, with one of the children then speaking up in such a sweet tone, "Mother, it's all right. We'll be one soon." Dashing forward, he ripped his own mother's arm off as she dropped to the ground, screaming with agonizing pain, as the child simply walked up and consumed her, saying, "We are now one." The villagers tried to run, but the monsters and children came running like hurricanes, and the start of the massacre had begun. The villagers were being ripped apart piece by piece and being consumed by loyal servants, with Belle getting all their memories, laughing like a madman, saying, "So this is what a happy, good family life was like. Man, I don't miss mine at all." He smiled wickedly, saying, "Now, let's go have our fun," with him and the wolf running into the village. As the monsters and people he has made now start fires burning everything down around them. Belle jumped off the wolf, flipping into the center, with some of the warriors in the village seeing this and saying, "It seems they listened to that boy, I believe. Come on, we can kill him. And once we do, we live." They ran forward with their swords, as one sliced Belle's head off, with all of them sighing with relief. But as the head flied, Belle just smiled, making his own body grab his head quickly as he slammed it back on, regenerating the damage, saying, "See, that's not gonna work on me. I'm basically immortal after all," as he gives a crooked and twisted smile. The warriors just drop their swords, collapsing to the ground in sheer horror. Their whole bodies and eyes just exhume it. Belle, smiling like a demon at this point, activates his claws, running forward, leaving a massive crack in the ground, grabbing two of them, lifting them up by their heads, crushing them and consuming them. He laughs, saying, "It's fun, getting what you idiots deserve. Don't you agree?" As he licks his lips, bolting forward again and starting to dice the remaining ones while he consumed them. As this whole night was nothing but death, destruction, and feeding Belle's revenge. Until he stopped his little army by raising his hand, and they all stood still and kneeled before him. And what was left of this fine village was its chief and his daughter, huddling together with sheer terror and fear throughout everything. Belle walked up to them, saying, "Wow, you think getting my revenge would make me feel better. But really, it just makes me feel empty," as he gave a dark, twisted smile. Then they both screamed out, "What revenge? What did we do to you?" He went, "Oh yeah," briefly letting himself go back to his normal look for that moment, with a shocked look in their eyes, saying, It's you? And you did this?" Belle laughed, saying, "Yes, I did. It seems I truly became your plague, huh?" He then grabbed the village chief's daughter and said, "You're first," piercing her through the heart and consuming her, then making her form right in front of them, with his greatest twisted, devilish smile he could muster, then saying, "Now show Daddy the love of pure pain and the happiness of one becoming one, sorry. With the young Dar saying, "Why, yes, I'll show him. Don't worry, Dad. It'll be all over soon." As she slowly walked forward, as he screamed and tried to get away, but she caught up to him, beating him to death and consuming him. Bell said, "Well, that's enough." Clapping his hands and sending everyone back into his biomech. He smiled, saying, "So this is what absolute power feels like. If you only treated me better, maybe this would have never happened, and I never would have had to do this too." Wait, as his head started throbbing. Why did I do this? This is wrong. As he coughed up blood, realizing, crap, his hairs and eyes started to turn back to normal permanently. As he realized, so I'm just another self, huh? Oh well, when death, carnage, revenge, and insanity is needed, I will be there. As he gave a final great evil smile, with Bell collapsing to the ground. He's now in the void again, with Nargle, saying, "So you made your another self, huh?" Alex, what? What? I did that? Argo responding, "It seems your darkness, or your dark side, now has a form. And when your eyes and hair become more black, it is your darkness becoming more self aware and more prominent." This is like last time. As she sighs deeply and saying, then responding with, "It is also a byproduct of my blessing, apparently. So when you're in that form, you are Mercer Heller. That's why I asked for the new name, because I assumed it was going to happen again. And the white hair form is the normal Belle Cornell." Sighing and then saying, "This happened last time too. That woman nearly destroyed the world. Thanks to that, I'm stuck here until she's dead, and I fucking hate it here, so since I don't want to have all this repeated, it seems to me that it's best for you to find your balance, Belle. Or one day you will have to fight for the right to exist in your own body. So no more consuming like a madman, okay? It will quicken the effect." With Bell nodding his head. Now, it actually being early morning, Freya and Ishtar are walking through the wreckage of the village, wondering what happened. There's no bodies, everything is burned, and most of the damage was done by monsters, from what they could tell. What was most puzzling of all, something should be left behind. At least some crystals of some monsters were killed, or blood. There's nothing. They walk through even more carefully, seeing this. Going to the only building that was left. Now, some parts of it were scorched a bit, but it looked to be the village chief's house by the design. They walked through the open door to see a small boy with white hair and completely tattered clothes. As they walk up to him, Freya is saying, "I've never seen a soul like this ever. At times it is a black diamond with a red core, other times a red diamond with a black core. This is very interesting, to be honest." I respond with, "Why, yes, and it seems he has a blessing by Nargal. I mean, he has some unique skill from her. So I think if he can resist one of our charms, we'll have a very strong child. Don't you agree?" As both of them just decided to nod. Throwing a spare cloak they had with them over the boy and picking him up, carrying him to a nearby tree outside the village. Once there, they made sure the cloak was on properly, with the boy slumped back against the tree still unconscious. With Frey saying, "It seems that his soul has finally settled down. It's now the black diamond with a red core. He will awaken soon." "I can tell. So what are your thoughts, Ishtar?" Replying, he must have gave something up for that power, right? Maybe a soul, that's why it's blinking in and out?" With Freya saying no. If he had done that, he would be a blank empty husk, and there'd be no soul there. It's clear she gave this power without a price. I started saying, "Really?" And I thought I'd see the day she would do that. Freya just nodded. Bell started opening his eyes, seeing the two women. Bell asking Nargle, "What's going on?" She spotted with, "That's Freya and Ishtar, the only two gods besides me that are virgins." Bell saying, "Wait. They're goddess of love, right?" The response being, "Yes, and since everything falls for their charms, they never let anyone touch them in any way. So if I'm thinking correctly, and I know I am, what they're going to do is release their full divine charm on you to see if you can resist it, Belle. But don't worry, you can. Trust me." Belle just said, "Okay. Thanks for the heads up." Back to the gods as they look at the boys whose eyes are finally awakened. Belle asking, "So who are you?" Their response is, "We are Freya and Ishtar, and we'd like to ask you something, young one." Belle said, "All right." They both start glowing every color you can imagine, and some you thought not possible. Both simply saying, "Now devote yourself to us." Belle felt this overwhelming desire to do that. But when he started being consumed by it, he felt a surge of power that snapped him out of it. Not really understanding what was going on, Belle responded, "Why would I do that? I mean, you're maybe goddesses, but you have to earn that. Oh, by the way, my name is Belle Cornell." Ishtar and Freya were completely shocked. To resist one of them would have been an accomplishment, but both at their full power, in that moment, they both felt the desire to have this boy beyond everything that existed in this whole plane of existence. They both nodded, asking, "So, who do you want your blessing from?" Belle saying, "Actually, I need both of you." This, making no sense obviously, caused both of them to give him a very curious look. Bell, realizing what was happening, responded, "See, thanks to the power given to me, I need two deities' blessings combined to have the blessing on my back, sadly." The guys actually smiled, saying, "No, that's perfect for us." The clear red blushes on their face. But thinking about it, with Frey saying, "But we need to make a unique blessing designed just for you to make this work and make you feel special." Bell smiled, saying, "Then how about this?" As he made his claw hands, with both of them saying, "That should work." Bell was now being blessed by Frey and Ishtar, with a female figure saying, "So he was also given power by her. Let's see who's stronger." With her laughing like a madwoman, turning into a cloud of green smoke that killed all the plant life around her. This is the end of the script. Thank you so much for listening. Good God, I'm lightheaded. Never had to speak that much in a while. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is Real Garing signing off.